Okay, I eventually want to talk about working with vectors graphically, but before we start drawing pictures of vectors, I should probably talk about what is a vector. So you probably have heard this before, but let's just review the difference between a scalar and a vector. A scalar is something that just has a magnitude, while a vector has both a magnitude and a direction. So let's look at some examples. So you probably could name a few examples of scalars, and I'll just write down a few things you've seen before. So probably mass. So mass is just a number. You could say a mass of 6 kilograms. A mass does not have a direction. Time. You could say a time of 10 seconds. Again, time does not have a direction. Energy would be another example of a scalar. Energy is just a number, does not have a direction. Temperature is another example of a scalar. There's no direction to temperature, it's just a number and a unit. And charge. So charge, you could say you have a charge of 5 microcoulombs, but you wouldn't say you have a charge of 5 microcoulombs to the east. It just wouldn't make any sense. So let's look at a few examples of vectors that you might have seen before. So very common example is velocity. That's one of the first vectors we'll talk about. Another vector could be force. So for example, you might say you have a force of 10 newtons to the right. So you would specify both a magnitude and a direction. And linear momentum, maybe would be another example of a vector quantity. That's something that has both a magnitude and a direction. And then electric field is another vector quantity. So we always refer to the electric field vector, and just like we have electric field, we can talk about magnetic field. Magnetic field is also an example of a vector quantity. It's something that has both a magnitude and a direction.